Welcome, Webster, to Kingston, Jamaica. Very happy to have you here. Welcome.
I'm great and I'm happy to be actually in Jamaica. I arrived on Monday and so far I've been spending the time visiting family and friends.
Excellent. Today we're going to talk about some of the emerging professions. It has been said that we're living in a world of change. Change continues unabated. It is seen in just every single aspect of our lives. We're going to look at the professions because traditionally we find that our youngsters would gravitate towards the traditional professions. No, it's quite a different. Webster, what do you think about this changing situation in which we find ourselves in the world today?
I think that the change was basically a result of necessity in order to do tasks more efficiently. And whenever a need arises to actually improve productivity, that is where technology and new processes and methods come in. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I got into the computing industry, I would say, in the mid to late 1990s. I had an interest in computers as a hobby, and I decided that I wanted to learn to program. So I went to the local bookstore. They had several books about different types of programming language. I taught myself how to program a simple programs. I taught myself how to program certain games, how to write applications, and eventually I took evening classes because I wanted to see how well I'll do with the additional information which I had not taught myself. I did quite well. I got a certificate and it led me to enroll in a university to study computer science, which included the internship as part of the program. And from that internship, I got my first job in the computer field. So that is basically how I got initially involved in the field. And since then, I've moved on to another company. I've done different aspects, programming, application development, um, tech lead for response for certain applications. And eventually, in the latest couple of years, I've got myself fully immersed in what is referred to as cloud technology.
Tell us about this cloud technology. What is involved in technology?
Okay, so if you take a step back and you look at a typical computer environment, you would have the laptop or workstation, which employees would access their programs that they would want to work in. Now, where are those programs stored? You have probably some physical servers in a back room, and you have applications and programs loaded onto them. You have database servers, which would store the company records. And then you would have a lot of internet and network wires in between. So that worked for a certain extent. But what has occurred now is what you would call virtualization. Virtualization basically means that instead of having the database server and the application server and all of these switches and all of these routers and all of these cables, which you have to update on a regular basis and you have to patch on a regular basis, you can eliminate all of that equipment and buy that service with what you call a cloud provider, such as Amazon, AWS, or Microsoft Azure. And what they would do is that instead of having all of that equipment, you would have a laptop and internet connection. You would connect to their service, and they would provide that information to you at the click of your mouse.
Let
So,
me let me try to understand. Are you suggesting, for instance, that this new technology you could very well dispense with the multiplicity of laptop servers and what have you, and have your service efficiently provided through this cloud technology?
Okay, so what you would really need, you would still need a laptop, correct? And you need an internet connection because in order for cloud to work, those are the two key components that you would need. Now, in terms of laptops, you have the physical laptop and you have what you call a virtual laptop. And I'll give you an example where a virtual laptop might be needed. Um, a lot of companies now are employing contract workers overseas, especially in far off countries such as India, such as China, such as Eastern Europe. Now, previously, the company would have to get a laptop, they'd have to load it up with the software, and they'd have to ship it to that country, which can lead to all kinds of issues. Instead of having to ship the laptop with the programs, you can actually create what you call a virtual laptop, where you click on an icon on the screen and a laptop screen opens up and you would have the programs there that you need to use. So that is where the application of a virtual laptop would come in. And then when the contract ends, instead of having to have the person ship the laptop back, you could just delete the laptop and then that would be it. And then it also allows you to install a lot of different type of security and access controls on it.
This is amazing, just simply amazing. Yeah, if one were to do a sort of comparative cost, this new technology, would it be more cost effective than the sort of setting up the system with all the hardware and servers and what have you?
Okay, so let me give you another example. Okay, a call center, right? A call center, usually a large building with a lot of terminals and a lot of people sitting by the terminals, uh, answering calls and entering information at the same time. Now, of course, it's going to cost a lot of money to set up each of those, you know, laptops would have to be loaded up with the program and the necessary security um, installations. Now, if you had a situation where you, instead of having a big call center, you want the people to work from home, then what you could do is you could set up these virtual laptops, and these virtual laptops would be actually include all the programs and the security features that you need, and you it would allow you from the inside your living room to log on to access the information, to enter the orders, to take phone calls in your location instead of having a big office.
I can understand. I mean, the would it would certainly lead to greater efficiency. It certainly would cut costs significantly. But isn't there a downside? Wouldn't it affect sort of negatively the ability of people to obtain jobs that used to be possible before the technology was introduced? In other words, isn't there an effect that it would have on the number of people employed?
Okay, well, we can look at two ways. What happens when new technology is introduced? It also requires new job openings for people involved. In other words, new programming type positions would open up, security type positions for securing the applications and the environment would open up. You would you would also be able to be more efficient. So, in other words, you would be able to actually improve your productivity. It also leads to automation, where it would basically replace some of the manual tasks that you would need to do.
Question. And this is one of the things that has been plaguing Jamaica because we noticed that with the introduction of new technology, it seems as if people who are preoccupied with scamming are right behind the development of the technology. And quite recently, there have been many horror stories about scamming, about the difficulty in having their information stolen, of some financial institution losing quite a bit of money. Is there some sort of system within the technology that you're describing that can seek to sort of control, mitigate, or probably obliterate the whole scamming that we find?
Okay. So scamming can occur in two different areas. One would be, and where it most likely has the biggest effect, is basically lack of training with employees. So they need to learn about not clicking on links in emails, which is basically phishing. You click on a link, and all of a sudden, a program is installed on your computer, and it goes and accesses information, and it spreads to other computers. You don't want to be involved in that. Um, so, in terms of internal controls, you have to have a program in your company that teaches the employees about avoiding these type of of places where you could actually um, cause danger to your own environment. Now, in terms of actual technology, there is security technology that is available. So, for instance, it will actually look at incoming emails, and if it's deemed to be a phishing type email, it will actually send it to a quarantine area, and the employee will not get that email. Somebody from an administrator will be able to further examine those emails to determine whether or not they're legitimate or not legitimate. The other danger as well is what you call denial of service. And let me give an example of denial of service. Say you have a website in which you have a link where a person can order products from it. Now, that website is expecting or is designed to handle a certain amount of transactions per hour, per minute, per day. And denial of service basically means is that uh, you're going to have people that will run a program to automatically hit that website at hundreds, maybe thousands of times simultaneously. Can be from one location. If it's from one location, they might be able to block that IP where it's coming from, or if it's from multiple locations, then becomes a lot challenging. So you have programs that can easily detect when a denial of service is occurring, and will immediately cut off those locations from where it is happening. So in terms of actually involving being scanned, the first step is to train your employees adequately to avoid the different methods that are used. Uh, so one would be not to click on strange emails. If you receive an email from an address that you recognize, don't respond to it. If you find a USB, don't plug it into your computer because it might be you might have a virus on it. And also, in terms of technology, installing the software to protect it. So, so I would think that would be the things you could do to avoid scamming.
Fantastic. Finally, let us look on the whole idea of compensation because I know that a lot of our youngsters are lured into specific professions because of the ability to earn what would be described as a livable salary. The compensation that would be involved in this new technology, would you say it's attractive?
I would say it's attractive and there's no limit because you can work for a company, you can learn technologies, and you also have the ability at a certain stage to branch out on your own and form your own consultancy or your own company where you can charge whatever price these companies are willing to pay. So there's a lot of room for upward mobility in this area.
Fantastic. This has really been a very refreshing discussion. I've been learning so many new things, insofar as the cloud technology is concerned. It only remains to thank you, Webster, for being here and for giving us this introduction. Before you leave, we'll have other discussions and other topics. So thank you. Very happy to have you and all the very, very best in your new.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.